103 for 3 at the close of play on day 2, a deficit of 200 exactly, England having been bowled out for 403. That said, a momentous day for a certain Johnny Bairstow. Ton for him, his 4th in an England shirt as a Test match batsman, and he is live with Alison Mitchell.
Yeah, 4th for England, but first in an Ashes, Johnny. Does that feel like it just means so much more, particularly given the situation in the series?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this morning it was obviously pretty tough out there, but no, delighted to get my first Ashes 100. It's something as a boy that you really want to do, and I've been fortunate enough to play in a few Ashes series now, but no, to get it at the Wacker away from home as well means a heck of a lot.
Celebrated with some feeling, I have to say, if I can put it like that.
Oh, there's always some feeling, yeah. Obviously, it's been everything spoken about, so no, it was just a bit of light fun, and that's exactly how it should be taken.
Like around headbang everything, you know.
No, as I say, it was just a bit of fun, and that's exactly that. But no, a huge amount of passion within the game, and that's been throughout the series. So no, a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, the kiss of the badge as well on the helmet. I think that was taken in good spirit and good humour, certainly from us watching up in the commentary box. The match situation then, how satisfied were you as a team to get to 400? Could it have been more? Should it have been more?
Yeah, potentially. I think we could have kicked on and got a few more than that. But no, look, I think it's something that, to say that we'd got 400 after being 100 for 4, I think we'd have taken that. Obviously, they've played pretty well this evening. Tomorrow morning's a crucial session for us to try and keep them out there for as long as possible and scoring at a rate that we're comfortable with. And look, come the end of the day tomorrow, who knows what could have happened. They obviously took 6 wickets in the morning session, so there's no reason why we can't. The wickets offering a decent amount as well, so if we get it in the right areas with the skills that the boys have shown throughout the series, then there's no reason why we can't do the same.
Once Moeen was out, did you feel as if the game changed somewhat when you were batting with the tail again? You had to sort of play in a slightly different way, maybe up the tempo. How did it feel to you then in that position?
I'm not sure you can class Wokes as a tail ender. I mean, the guy's got 10 first-class hundreds, 12 first-class hundreds. So, look, we're very fortunate to have those guys that are coming in at 7, 8, 9. Broady's still got a Test 100 coming in at 10. So, yeah, it's pretty tough down there for the guys, because the plans that are implemented by guys that are bowling 145 Ks is pretty ruthless, if we're really honest, and very tough. So I wouldn't say it changed a massive amount. Naturally, there's an ambition to try and score more fluently, but at the same time, risk and reward, isn't it? And unfortunately today, that risk and reward didn't end up being on the right side for myself.
How is the pitch playing? We've seen the odd one hit a crack and scoot through, but you've spent a lot of time out there both with the bat and keeping wicket. Yeah,
there was a couple that shot through, but it's very difficult to compare the two attacks, because obviously the skills are very different, the paces are different. But what I do know is that it has done enough for us to get 20 wickets within the Test match, and that's the exciting thing about it. Over the next couple of days, it might offer a bit more turn, but Mo, I thought, bowled absolutely delightfully, really, using the wind, using the drift, and the control that he had was probably the best I've seen him in bowl, especially starting a spell for a while.
Well, congratulations on a well-earned 100, Johnny. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Johnny Bairstow with Ali. Let's start to reflect then on a day that's perhaps swung a little bit away from England, but with Ricky, Jeffrey and Gilly. Start perhaps with you, Jeffrey. You know Johnny very well. He's, to use a cheap gag, used his head today, hasn't he, to reach his first Ashes century?
No, head touching, not a head butting.
No, but used it in the right way. Played nicely.
Played wonderfully well, all the time, yesterday and today. This morning, I was really impressed this morning, because he's a quick scorer. He likes to play, not silly, but he likes to, and he scores quickly. This morning, it was very important that both of them came in and realised that, hang on, 110, 75, no, you're not out this morning. Aussies have got a new ball. So therefore, you've got to play a little bit more sensibly, a little cautiously, and they did brilliantly early on. And then, after about 35, 40 minutes, they tried to express themselves. He played marvellously well. Played straight, never hooked once, that's a pull. He never hooked because he's not a hooker. And when he ducked, he looked at the ball in the old-fashioned way, and he deserved that celebration.
Yeah, and you can see, actually, as is often the case, Ricky, you can see with a batsman, perhaps particularly one that's been on the pump a little bit, what it means to him. That was, as he says, a bit of a joke.
Well, there's a few things he's probably thinking about as well. He might have been disappointed that he's batting 7 at the start of the series as well. He got an opportunity to go back up to 6, so he probably felt he had a bit of a point to prove, or a point to make probably to the captain who sets the batting order. But look, he did play beautifully, and when it's only his 4th Test match 100, so of course it's going to mean a lot to him. His first Ashes one, and he did everything right through his innings. He went through the gears, and unfortunately there, we said earlier today, didn't we, Matt, just a couple leading up to that, just swung back in a fraction. That just hints to shape back. He just played across it, trying to find the gap, and got an inside edge on it. And you can see the disappointment on his face there. He knew there were more runs out there for him, and as he said, Wokes and those guys are not, and Overton, you know, they can bat a little bit, so he would have felt that he left a few runs out there for sure.
Well, he said as much himself, didn't he, in the interview we just heard? You can see his frustration a little bit as he walked off, but Adam, if we're going to be, I suppose, honest, and we must be, it's a collapse again, isn't it, from England's lower order, if not tail, if we're going to believe that Wokesy and those are better than what we're seeing?
Yeah, 6 for 35. That's a collapse in any cricket. Milan just opened the door. Brilliant innings, 140. Great catch. I would like to have seen him use his feet, go over the offside, hit with the spin. He tried to go leg side there. He can hit them over mid-off for 4 or 6, but great catch by Hanscom. Laziness there from Ali. A big 200-run partnership. He sat watching it for hour after hour and then get in there. He knew what was coming. He knew it was going to be short. He just needed to be sharper in his mind, which therefore would have been sharper in his footwork. A little bit unlucky here. He's flicked that off his hip. That's a brilliant catch. 6'4" fast bowler down at fine leg. That's the modern day cricketer though, isn't it? The big fast bowlers, they need to be able to field. In previous eras that might have just gone sailing into the boundary, but they were ruthless, the Aussie attack. The door was open, they came in and they circled like sharks, didn't they? Stark got it up there. That was the Bairstow one we just saw. Yeah. And then really after that, you couldn't expect much from guys like Overton and Anderson and Broad. They were going to get peppered. They were right on the money. Bancroft there accepts the easy one, and then Broad, tried. He hit a big hook shot for 100-metre 6, but then he just tried to get inventive, and that brought about the
tail enders got bowled out with short ball. Yeah. And I don't know what preparation they did before the tour, but if they didn't do preparation for short balls, then they're silly, because anybody could have told them that's what they're going to get.
So what should England have got? I think we all...
450.
Yeah, minimum.
Well, I mean, just be honest, but another 50 runs would have been about par.
Yeah, look, I think they've done a reasonable job. I mean, they're 3 for 115. Let's not forget that as well. So they're two guys in the middle that stood up and played beautifully. You know, that was a 240-run partnership. That's, you know, that got them to 403. We saw it even late today. You know, the ball gets soft. It's not going to be that easy to score. England now still 200 runs ahead in the Test match with, and listen to what Johnny had to say, he feels there's enough in the surface.
Yeah, as we look at the bowling card, it's just the recurrence of that weakness, isn't it? That's the problem, that it's a pattern.
I think you've got to accept that that's just the way it's going to be. Right. When you've got 3 guys bowling 90 miles an hour to tail them batsmen, they're going to knock them over more often than not. We saw one rearguard action, did we, in Adelaide last week with Overton and Wokes, but the other innings we've seen in the series so far suggest that the tail is going to be fragile against this sort of bowling. So I think you've got to come to expect that. Yeah. So then it is up to the more recognised batsmen. You know, Moeen can't go out and play that way.
No.
He's got to be more sharp and energetic and ready to go. That's it,
you can't play up here.
No.
To the ball that's bouncing. Once it gets above here, you cannot get over the top and control it. Once it gets up here, you've got to drop your hands.
The old adage, of course, always applies. Let's see how both teams play to know truly about a wicket. Steve Smith has made it look like a stroll, really.
Totally different class, wasn't he? He was aggressive, positive right from the outset. They gave him a bit of length, and he took it. That's a delightful stroke. And Boyce just mentioned playing off the back foot. You've got to either stand tall and get over the top of it or get underneath it. But they went full. He accepted the challenge. 92 not out. That was a tough one. The ball before tee hit him on the thumb. Looked like he was in trouble there, but he had the break and came out. Broad thought he was in the game there. It went about 10 rows back. But just we dissect his batting, don't we? We look at his movements and backlift and everything, but at the point of impact, he's perfectly balanced and the bat comes through nice and straight. Another Test match 50, and we know he converts them. He's moved up to 92 already. 22 50s now, 2100s. Ominous signs.
We've got to say, you know, they've tried bowling outside off stump because he gets so far out. We're now in the 3rd Test, and he's winning the battle. We've got to do some new thinking, whether it's bowl straight and set an onside field with 2 men in the box for his drive and a man out to stop his 4, whatever. You've got to try something else, because so far he's winning.
No, he is. He is. And actually, I think if just to look at the batting card, 203 for 3 overnight. You've said, obviously, he almost always converts. In fact, in Perth, he always converts. He makes 50, he makes 100. And the 50 that he's on is the current one, which is almost certainly going to convert, you think, in the morning with an average nudging 60 for him. That's actually quite modest.
he must hate this place. He must hate batting in Perth, yeah. I mean, I think Gilly hit the nail on the head. Right now, when you watch the best players in the world, as far as I'm concerned, he's a different kettle of fish. He just looks to have a little bit more time, a little bit more class. He hits the middle of the bat more often than he misses it. And when he hits the middle of the bat, he hits the gap. And that's a sign of a class player that's in control of his game.
Yeah, it was chanceless, wasn't it?
Yeah, and most of his innings generally are.
Yeah.
And I think, to Jeffrey's point there, I think England will be running out of ideas. You know, how are we going to bowl? They've tried everything in Brisbane, wide outside off, stump straight, periods of sustained short bowling as well. Nothing unsettled him or ruffled him up there. He got found out a little bit against, extreme conditions in the second innings in Adelaide when it was swinging all over the place, but he come here in good condition. He's looked terrific again.
We'll hear in a moment from Usman Khawaja. Let's have a look at his innings first, because again, he's got runs, Jeffrey, not as many as he wanted, and he was not desperately happy with the dismissal, although it turned out to be correct. What did you make of him?
Well, he looks funny and awkward. He stays square on, and he stays back almost 85%, 90% of the time. He knows his game. It's a bit ugly, but it works in Australia on the flat pitches where the ball doesn't move. And that's why he's struggled away. When he's gone abroad, he averages about 26, 27. But here, he knows what to do, and it's about getting runs.
Yeah, obviously got the half-century, which he'll be, I'm sure, pleased with, but I don't think he was desperately happy with the decision, perhaps the on-field decision, as much as the fact that technology eventually supported the umpire's call. But it was close. There was perhaps a whisper of a nick somewhere in there. Again, a bit of confusion.
Yeah, well, as I said, I mean, I think his disappointment would have been from the on-field decision, because as a batsman in Perth, when you feel the ball hit you that high on the back leg, you think it's just going to be going over straight away. But as we've seen so far with the aid of technology, that it was actually a very, very good decision from the on-field umpire. So you just got to accept that and get on with it. I mean, without the technology, he was given out anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Let's hear from the horse's mouth. Usman Khawaja with Ali.
Well, Usman Khawaja with me. Usman, how possible is it to say who's got the upper hand at this stage of the game?
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Day two, I think it's fairly even at the moment. I think tomorrow will be a big day. Tomorrow morning, first session, and throughout the whole day, was I'll sort of show what's going to happen in the game, I reckon, moving forward.
What was your own feeling on your dismissal?
Well, when I got given out, I thought it was a little bit high, but umpire's call was 50-50. Given not out, if the umpire said not out, it'd be not out. Once he gives it out, it's hard to overturn, obviously, unless it's missing.
Did you take advice from Steve Smith as to the height?
I just felt it was high. I was just confirming with him if he felt it was high, and maybe outside the line. It was umpire's call on both outside the line and height, so, there you go.
Is there still plenty in this pitch for Australia to make up this 200-run deficit?
Yeah, I hope so. Wacker's a beautiful place to play. A lot of value for shots out here. When you get a partnership going, runs can flow very quickly. Stephen Smith's batting beautifully. Hopefully he can keep going, and obviously Shaun Marsh is a terrific touch too, so hopefully we can get a nice little partnership there starting tomorrow.
What is it like when you're batting in partnership with Steve Smith? So much communication out there? How does the relationship work between the two of you?
Yes and no. We've played with each other for a long time now, all the way from when we were growing up in New South Wales till now, so we know each other pretty well, and we don't have to say too much to communicate. We know what's going on, so unless there's something to be said, it's usually just business as usual.
And as a team, what was the feeling at the end of England's first innings, having been able to roll over the tail, and given that England perhaps could have gone on to make so many more runs?
Yeah, very good to restrict them to 400 after yesterday. Milan and Bairstow batted beautifully. They started well this morning too, so it could have been a lot worse for us, but our bowlers bowled really well. Lino to get that wicket, to get that back through, and Petey, the subfielder, come in and take a nice little catch for us, got us rolling, and then we bowled really well to the tail over the last three games, and continued it today.
Well done on your 50. Thanks, Usman.
Thank you.
Well, he didn't seem particularly bothered about the fact of a nick. Michael Vaughan's joined us just to review that, and we'll get to Craig Overton in a minute, but he was worried about the height, and DRS is kind of leaving us all a little bit head-scratching at times, isn't it, with that height issue? Adelaide seems to be carrying miles over Perth, which is supposed to be bouncier. They're hitting the wickets.
Yeah, but you've just got to accept it as players. It was brought in a few years ago. I think it's been for the good of the game. Pretty much as soon as that finger goes up out in the middle, everything really is in the favour of the decision. I thought it was a good call in the end. It was a good ball. Just got the ball to shape back, and there's all sorts of kind of controversy with the snicker, whether it was a little edge or not. But for me, it was just after the ball had passed the inside edge of the bat, so the right decision was made.
Let's talk then about Craig Overton, because he got hit, as you will know, Jeffrey, in Adelaide, didn't he, on the the rib area, I guess. Does he wear a chest pad? I don't know, but certainly got a bang there. And he might have aggravated it today in a caught and bowled attempt, as we'll see. But again, he's been kind of in the thick of it, hasn't he, Overton?
He ain't got a chest pad on if he's going down like that. Let me tell you, that'll hurt in the ribs.
Yeah,
that's Warner's wicket.
It is.
A bit of a footwork. He just didn't quite do it properly, did he?
And there's the caught and bowl chance, which we think is where he's jarred or reignited a little rib pain that he had from Adelaide. And the word we have is that he doesn't know yet whether there'll be a need to go for a scan. So we'll obviously try and keep you posted on that. And then, of course, he gets the other opener, Gilly.
Yeah, that's right. It was referred, and they were delighted with it, weren't they? And may well they be. And that's a rearing delivery. We saw that a little bit earlier. So although he was hampered by that injury, he still produced enough questions there for the batsman. Steve Smith went off there, had the tea break, came back out, and then after tea's where it really started to turn sour for Overton, grimacing every time. He was pulling up short in his follow-through, and away he went. So it'll be interesting to see whether he can come back tomorrow and take up his position. Otherwise, it's going to could be a long, hard day for that bowling lineup.
Yeah. But when you look at the story of the day, I suppose, as well as the game with the 200-run deficit, I think I heard you saying commentary, you'd still rather have the runs on the board, Michael, but it's just that the psychology of where the game in the series is at. We were all optimistic last night, the English contingent.
Yeah, and England have got to take the chances. They've dropped 3 today, and that's going to be crucial. And can the dressing room believe? Can they believe that they can go out there tomorrow with that same desperation that we saw in the second innings at the Adelaide Oval? They've got no other option. Now, they're 2-0 down in the series. They've got 200 runs to play with. Come out tomorrow morning with that same desperation. Just try and bowl a better. I thought they were a little bit too short again today. Get the ball full and just try and create the outside edge and try and make sure that they're bringing the batsman forward to play the drive, play the shot, and just concentrate to take the chance. If they have that same desperation, they have an opportunity of winning this test match. If they have a slight negativity of wait a minute, Australia getting close to our first innings total, well, England will really struggle throughout the remainder of this test match. Just go out with that same desperation.
Yeah, that was obviously the moment we think that he jarred the rib. That was not dissimilar in some ways to the Nathan Lyon one, which he actually took, didn't he, in Adelaide. That one, Ricky, there was some discussion about whether Perth's difficult sometimes to pick up. Has it just come too fast?
Oh, look, I think it must have been a bit of both for Joe there. I mean, not too many of us had too many problems sighting the ball here in Perth. He's generally standing a fair way back. And that one did him for pace. And this one, I mean, this would have been lucky for England if it had been taken, but when you see it pop up in there like that, they're actually unlucky they didn't get it in the end. Stoneman goes for it again, just gets a finger on it, I think, which probably knocks it out of Bairstow's glove as well, so that could have been a huge moment in the game if that had been taken.
Yeah. Listen, before we move on, let's obviously also remind you that there's highlights of all Day 2's play. That's 11:30 a.m. later this morning on BT Sport 1, and of course we are back live with Day 3. That's a 2 a.m. start for 2:30 start of play. So do join us for that if you can. Come on, Jeffrey, cheer me up. What have you got? What have you got? A line?
A wonderful day's play. Australia won it on points, slightly.
Right.
It's 1-1, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 1-1.
1-1.
Yeah, they just won it on points because they've got 200 runs for 3 wickets, and they've got to find plans for Smith. Yeah. Let's be clear. I mean, Payne can bat. The guy who's in can bat. But Payne, you've got to find not Payne, not the others, not the two matches, him.
Smith.
He makes big.
Smith has the last word. See you later.